Hey everybody, welcome to Happy Hour. I'm your host, Shawn Ayers, and listen, today is the day. I'm so thrilled to be joined by two guests from the hit HBO show, We're Here. I'm thrilled to sit down with co-creator Johnnie Ingram and one of the stars of the show, Bob the Drag Queen. And they're going to tell us all about season 1 of the transformative real life series. Now first, it wouldn't be a proper kiki without a signature drink, so whether you love a cocktail or a mocktail, today's happy hour drink is a true reflection of both my guests. Southern and sweet, yet tart and transformative. Today we're making a homemade Southern lemonade. To make this happy hour mocktail, you're gonna squeeze 1 whole lemon into your martini shaker. Now you're gonna reach for some homemade simple syrup, because everybody has that at home. Add that in, as we do. Now, if you want to spice it up, you can add 2 ounces of your signature happy hour vodka. We're going to stick to the mocktail today. You're going to shake that up vigorously. We're going to pour that into our rocks glass, like so. We're going to add a little bit of soda. And last but not least, a nice slice of fresh lemon. And there you have it, friends, your homemade Southern lemonade. All right, without further ado, my first guest is the co-creator and executive producer of the hit HBO show, We're Here. Welcome to the show, Johnnie Ingram. How are you?
Hi, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It is such a treat. Cheers to you, my friend.
It's a delicious drink.
Absolutely, in your honor, and Bob's, of course.
Yes.
Now let's get right into it, because I want to ask all of the questions. First of all, I need to start by sharing how much I love We're Here. I've mentioned this to you before, but it is my favorite show. It warrants repeating many, many times. Now, Johnnie, as the co-creator and executive producer of the show, can you describe in your own words what the show is all about?
Well, I mean, I can give you the pitch line. No, it's such an important show. The show is, on the surface, it looks like a drag show that takes 3 drag queens into small town America and puts on a local show and takes 3 locals from the town and incorporates them into the production. And on the surface, it maybe sounds like another makeover reality TV show, but it's way bigger than that. The heart of the show is really based in how we can make a difference in these communities, not just do a simple one and done makeover and then leave town never to be seen again.
Yes, that's such a great summary. I think what I find so special about this real life series is, exactly what you said. There's such a magical, transformative experience that happens in every episode, and with each participant that are the drag queens, of course, who are Shangela, Bob the Drag Queen, and Eureka get to mentor in each episode. And it really cuts out of a lot of the fluff and surface level sort of salacious entertainment that we tend to see with a lot of reality shows. I want to ask you, Johnnie, what inspired you to make the show?
Well, I mean, actually, what you just mentioned, we were actually just really frustrated, me and my partner, Stephen Warren, who also co-created the show and co-executive produced the show. We were just really frustrated with American politics and the division that was happening within our country. And we were sitting on vacation, not in the U.S., sort of, in this enlightened mood of it was actually raining, but we had this sort of mood of what could we do? How could we use our talents, to do something different? It sort of occurred to us that reality TV, if you look at it, it kind of was maybe ruined the country with the election of a certain president. And it sort of clicked in our heads, like, what if you could actually do some good with reality television? Also entertaining. We want to really, the entertaining thing is really important. But what if you could actually take reality TV and do good with it, and actual good, not just the makeovers, not just a materialistic makeover, real,
right,
like real heartfelt transformations.
Well, I have to say, you have really you knocked it out of the park with season 1, and the goal has been accomplished. Every episode is so moving, and we're going to get into a little bit more about the specifics about the episodes, but I wanted to say that when it premiered last year, it came at such a pivotal time for myself as a viewer, and I think for so many people that love the show, where in the midst of the early stages of the pandemic, we really needed uplifting as a people, and we really needed something to escape and to something to look forward to. And I know that this show, having watched it 8 times over now, every episode, it has uplifted. It not only does it uplift me every time, Johnny, but I've told you this before, but I'm in tears, like ugly crying, almost every episode. And sometimes you just need a good cry.
So that's almost more than I.
I can't get enough. Okay, I want to get to some more questions here. How did you manage to cast some of the most iconic drag queens in the world in your show?
We do owe a lot to a lot of other queer television programming, like RuPaul's Drag Race clearly has just found some of the most incredible, talented the queens out there. But we really were looking for queens that had a little experience living in small towns. So all Bob, Shangela, and Eureka all are from small towns. They've all ended up leaving and for the big city and for careers outside of these small towns. But they have, their soul is built in these small communities, and I think it's important to have empathy when we enter these towns that can sort of see what the locals may be going through without coming in with too much judgment. We looked at a lot of shows recently that were also, I think, inspired to go into communities and to help make a difference. But I think you come in with sort of the wrong mentality, and then it can be offensive, or you come across as as elitist. And we really didn't want to do that. We really wanted to come in with respect and understanding that we all come from different places, and we can get to know each other again if we just take a moment to sit down and talk it out. And like a lot of these small towns, you can't really talk openly about being who you are, or being yourself, and a lot of people keep that tucked away for years or their entire lives, and sort of out of fear of the judgment of the town or family matters or whatever it may be. So us going into this town and really asking people to stand on a stage in front of their peers, in front of their family, asks a lot of them. So we really want to go in with respect, and I think that mutual respect is something we haven't seen in a long time.
No, it really shines through on all levels of the show, the amount of energy and love and compassion that is put into all creative elements of the show, the way that the stars, the hosts of the show, Eureka, Bob, and Shangela, connect with each of the participants in each episode. And like you said, you're going into a lot of these smaller towns throughout essentially the Bible Belt of Middle America, would you say?
I think Bible Belt is, there's a lot of Christian themes.
Yes.
And we actually, our goal is, I want to go to all 50 states. I think it'd be kind of great to, what is really cool about the name We're Here and what that means is we're everywhere,
Yes. Yeah.
And showing that we're everywhere, not even, yes, the Bible Belt is a very specific place, and you're going to get, likely you're going to get some tension in that town, or these towns there. Sometimes you'll actually be quite surprised. And I think, a lot of what this show is about is showing, people who may live in New York, LA, or large cities, that in these small communities, we exist there, and we're still fighting the same fights, if not longer, more difficult fights to gain sort of a sense of the feeling of just being able to be yourself. And I want to make sure that we don't just profile one community in hopes of getting some reaction. This isn't about that at all. It's about just showing the full spectrum of the LGBTQ community.
Absolutely. And again, I think that the show has done such a great job already in season 1 of doing that, of using this platform and the show to really reflect on the diversity that is America, where the show is filmed, all of the colors, all of the nuances, all of the expressions of gender and sexual orientation and so on. So kudos to you. One last thing here before we have to run here, Johnny. I know that season 2, you've been picked up for season 2, and by the way, congratulations.
This is such a good drink.
Oh, good. Cheers to the nominations. Independent Spirit Award, as well as the Emmy nomination from last year. Now, last question for you. Season 2 in production. I know you can't say too much. Is there a hope or a goal for season 2? What can we expect?
Season 2 it was really great to have. We're just so proud of the show, all of the recognition that we've gotten, and to be, our show name and is just next to some of these amazing, incredible shows that have been around for a long time. We're just so lucky, and I think having that platform to tell such even more important stories and get more people to watch the show, we just want to tell more diverse, important stories. I think we've just gotten started, and the pandemic happened, which has sort of put a bit of an even more challenging layer to our reality. But it is something that we are all going through together. We can all relate to, and I think showing, most importantly, an authentic experience of what was actually happening in the world right now, and how we can sort of overcome it together, alongside telling these really rich, important, diverse stories, is what you're going to see, and it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, I can attest that the casting that we've already been through is just it's so emotional, and get those tissues ready.
I love it. I can't wait to cry with you and with everybody else. Thank you so much, Johnny, again, for being on the show. Congratulations.
Such a fun cocktail hour. Let's I'm going to continue
Continue the kiki, and coming up next, we're going to speak to Bob, the drag queen. But first, let's take another quick sneak peek of the HBO hit show We're Here. Cheers.
Cheers.
Drag is about empowerment.
We travel across this country to take people from who they are to what they can be. Thank God I brought these.
I stopped the show.
We're actually taking some locals, turning them into fierce drag queens.
Shangela, Bob the drag queen, and Eureka. We came and we brought drag. Ooh, I feel like Mary Poppins, bitch.
One of these things is not like the other. One of these things.
These small towns, there are people who have never seen a drag queen.
Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. No, I'm kidding.
The show stopped, but I stopped the show. Watch me stop the show.
I see rough around the edges.
There is improvement to be made.
I think we all go through that struggle of life, doubts and insecurities, and just people making fun of you or bullying you.
Everything about me at one point or another has been used against me.
Feeling lost, feeling up, feeling.
It all started when Haley came out.
My mom had this look as she thought I would go to hell.
If you could say something to them now, what would you say?
I'm sorry.
I want you to feel like you have a purpose. Honey, you can't live for nobody but yourself.
Yeah.
Give me a hug.
If I'm not willing to live in the shoes of somebody who does drag, then how can I expect someone to understand my experience?
Really, it's like a triumph of love over labels.
How do you feel being in drag?
Sexy as I just feel like so electric. Love is love is love. Am I right? That's our job, to get out there and then educate and continue to be visible.
We're here.
Oh my God. It just knocked the wind out of me.
Oh, all in a gay's work.
My next guest truly needs no introduction. Please welcome one of the stars of HBO's hit show We're Here and the winner of season 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Please welcome Bob the Drag Queen.
Hey, how are you?
Bob, good. How are you? First of all, I have to get the fangirling out of the way. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for bringing all of the joy that is We're Here to the masses.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Whenever I think about people saying that I won Drag Race season 8, it just reminds me how long ago that was because someone's about to win season 13. So it's been a minute since I was on RuPaul's Drag Race. But as you know, obviously, it's still a big part of my life. Like it's my favorite show.
Does it feel like it's been a long time looking back, or does it feel like just yesterday that you had that crown placed on your head?
I wouldn't say it's yesterday, and I wouldn't say it's a long time ago. It feels like 5 years ago. You know, it feels like, oh, that happened about 5 years ago. That happened.
Now, listen, Bob, I want to get right into all of the questions about We're Here because, like I shared with Johnnie earlier, this show, there's something so special about this show, and it has been such an uplifting factor in my life over the last year. Through the course of the pandemic, it came at such a pivotal time. I want to know, from your personal experience as one of the hosts and stars of the show, what was the experience like filming We're Here season 1?
We don't have enough time for me to tell you what it was like to film season 1. I mean, bear in mind, we filmed it was over the course of 9 months. And each town is we spend anywhere between 9 to 15 days in each town. So it felt like a lot of things. There were ups, there were downs. I was tired. I was excited. I cried. I was happy. I was angry. There's so many things happen.
It's a roller coaster of emotions. And again, it bears repeating that I've actually watched the series 8 times over because of how.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Because of how moving it is for me. And sometimes you just need a good cry. But also, and I need to say this up front as well, I honestly think it is your best work, as well as Shangela and Eureka, as a collective, as a show, but specifically to you, Bob, you have a gift. You have a true gift. How you're able to navigate and create such transformative moments with each participant in each town. What was that like going into that?
Well, I mean, I was just trying to connect to people on this level. I wasn't looking at myself as a guru or a fixer. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a person who cares about people. And I don't know that I care more than most people. I just care as much as I care. Is that I'm not like Mother Teresa. You know what I mean?
Well,
but I do care about these people's feelings, and I take my job really seriously. So if I'm here to help you put on a good show, and we can also connect and talk about things. And anyone tells you, I take my job very seriously. And that's even whenever like a friend of mine, no matter what the job is. Like a friend of mine once asked me if I would help them in a pageant. One of my drag daughters, like my director outside of We're Here. And I took it really serious. And halfway through, when we were up at 3 a.m. sewing, they were like, oh my God. I was like, well, you asked for my help, and I take things really seriously. So now we're in the basement sewing at 3 a.m.
Yeah, cut to. I love that. Well, you know what? That part of your personality and that quality in you really shines through in this role on We're Here. And I want to get right into the first episode, actually, because in this first episode, you get to meet your first drag baby, so to speak. We are in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Let's take a quick look at you in episode 1, Bob.
Me and Darylina of the legendary House of Joneses.
Yes.
I'm Daryl.
Bob
Thank you for coming to town.
I'm happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Eureka, David, AKA all of the above. Oh, this is your drag kid?
Yeah, this is my drag daughter.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, I'm your mom now.
So what does it mean to be my drag mom? What, drag mama? Drag
mother. I'm gonna teach you about
what it means to be a drag queen.
Okay.
And also, a lot of times your drag mom is the one who puts you in drag for the first time, or someone that you asked to be your drag mom.
Okay.
So long story short, I'm gonna like teach you the ropes about drag.
Rob, tell me what it was like working with Daryl in that episode.
Daryl was wonderful. Daryl kind of reminded me of like, I don't know, someone who would work at my mom's job. Daryl was really funny. And Daryl was also really interested in subverting offensive culture or racism, and having people look at racism from a different angle, which really spoke to me.
Racism and intolerance is just a part of the fabric of where we are. I would love to see this community change and evolve. So I frankly enjoy being known in this town as a straight ally to gay people. If I'm not willing to live in the shoes of somebody who does drag, then how can I expect someone to understand my experiences as a black man?
Ian being asked why he wanted to do drag and be a part of We're Here, he says something to the effect of, if I can't walk in someone else's heels or shoes, how can I expect other people to understand my experience? And I think that was so profound.
Well, fun fact, he actually couldn't walk in the hills. So during the performance, he actually was wearing flats because he could not walk in the hills, but we didn't tell everyone that little secret.
You didn't clock her for it?
Yeah, I was like, no, Daryl tried. Daryl really tried. I was like, walking him like a little baby, like a newborn giraffe across the Serengeti, and it was not particularly graceful. God bless him.
Well, and that's the other fun thing about the show, and in each episode, because each yourself and Shangela and Eureka get to mentor different drag babies, different participants in each small town in each episode. And some have various levels of experience as a performer, or some have very little experience as a performer. So I wanted to ask you, what did you do to prepare in going into each town and being in terms of being a mentor, not only to do for your drag baby to do drag for the first time, but to also perform in a live drag show for the town at the end of each week?
Well, we essentially just prepare our number. We weren't like coming up with like training on what to do if someone hasn't done drag or has done drag. We do our research on the person, or get our intel on the person, and then we come up with a drag number based on their story, or based on where they are in their lives at the time. So for example, in Twin Falls, I had drag queens. I had actual drag queens, and in the Gettysburg, I had an administrator at a college. You know what I mean? So I definitely had varying levels of performance ability.
Somehow, you all turn it out in every episode, and all of the performances, whether viewers you've watched the show We're Here or not, and I highly recommend you jump on it, Toot Sweet and do, that all of the performance are turned on all levels, all creative aspects of the show. You mentioned costume and looks, and I wanted to touch on that because it would be a detriment to this interview if I didn't talk about first the entrance looks at the top of each episode. It's very inspired, Tu Wong Fu inspired in terms of the entrance. You see a clip of all of the oversized purses and vehicles coming into each town, but your looks are some of the most iconic fashion moments of the year. Now, do you have a favorite of
the year? I mean, let's not get out of hand. Probably my favorite look was honestly probably the look in Twin Falls, Idaho, the cowboy look. I was wearing the white and gold cowboy outfit, and I just felt so beautiful. I also loved my green look in Branson. It was like a green showgirl piece with a big Sims feather piece sticking out the top of my head. I just felt really beautiful those days.
You looked stunning in both, and all of the looks, I have to say. I loved the cowboy. I loved watching you walk through the town with your whip, cracking the whip in that opening. Now, not to digress, because I want to keep talking about fashion and costumes for a moment, but There's a story, I believe, around the whip that I think I've heard you talk about. Before you were Bob the drag queen, is there a connection to the whip? Is there a story there?
Yeah, so before my name was Bob the Drag Queen, my name was Kitten with a Whip for like 3 years, and I used to carry a whip everywhere I went. So I learned how to crack a whip. I actually learned to crack a whip before I chose the name. I just always loved something about being able to crack a whip was interesting to me. So I started learning it. I don't know. I have a lot of random things that I've been like obsessed with at different points in my life. So, and I would carry this whip everywhere I went. And then about 3 to 4 years into drag, I was like, that's not the drag name for me. I got to change it. I got to switch it up. So I changed my name to Bob the Drag Queen, which I have been for a while now, for about 9 years or 8 years now. But yeah, that was my old whip. That was the actual whip I used to carry around back when I first started drag.
I love it. I love the history behind that. And you know, that is a handy party tricks.
I live in New York City, so that's not a party trick you can do in anyone's apartment. Well, I used to live in New York City. Now I'm in LA.
That's right. Yeah, it's not a small dwelling, urban dwelling trick. You're right. Let's go back to the looks. Let's go back to these iconic looks, and let's go talk really for a moment here about the fashion in the show, because there are so many incredibly talented artists, from the makeup artists, the hair artists, the costume designers that work with not only yourself and Eureka and Shanji, but all of the participants. And that tells such a story to, revealing how the drag babies evolve and transform. I wanted to kind of take us to the episode in New Mexico where we get to meet Nate and Lady Shug, and maybe you can share a little bit about that experience with us.
Well, you know, it's so funny because actually I met Nate and Lady Shug a year ago yesterday, and I talked to Lady Shug on the phone last night about our 1 year anniversary, and they were watching the show in celebration of that. And it was literally just a year ago today that I met them for the first time.
What was it about Lady Shug that really moved you, or where you felt a deep connection? Because it shows definitely in that episode, and I was curious, what that was.
Well, I think Shug is just a really strong presence in her community. I think that she cares a lot about Indigenous land, Indigenous people, Indigenous women, Indigenous trans people, Two-Spirit people. And, as an activist myself, we just have a lot in common.
I think that episode in particular was so beautiful because it did shine such a spotlight on Indigenous issues that are prevalent, of course, everywhere, but in America, where We're Here is filmed, but also here in Canada. And I love that in the final performance piece, it was so moving the way the story was told, and that moment was curated with Nate. And actually, I think we have a clip of the beginning of the episode where you are chatting with Nate and Lady Shug and talking about the costume and the look that they're going to be putting together for the final performance. Let's take a look at that clip now with Nate.
I feel like the intersectionality between being queer, being Native, being artist, the car accident, all these things were brought together to make you who you are today. So I have this vision for the performance.
So we're starting out in this classic Bride of Frankenstein look with the all white kind of bandages and all that, and then having that tear away and be something that's more representative of like the parts of you. It's gonna be all different fabrics, patchwork together.
We're gonna try to have Darren incorporate some embroidery that he's done that Domino can then sew into the garment.
I think this is so special. Just being a queer person on the reservation, that's us. That's us being pulled apart. And now this event, you're all getting sewn together.
I just love working with them so much. Like it was amazing to have all three of them there to help lift up this person. It shows community coming together. And I was really proud of that. And, I'm really proud of these numbers that we come up with. A lot of people I don't know if everyone knows this or not, but we really come up with these numbers. There's not like a secret team that pitches us the numbers and then we do them. Me, Shangela, and Eureka really come up with all these numbers ourselves. And we, do them with these drag babies in mind. So I was particularly proud of this number.
Oh, it was incredible. And I actually didn't realize that. I know that you are all producers on the show as well, but the fact that you're so involved, and I mean, each of the numbers at the end of each episode are beyond expectations. So that's really incredible.
Well, thank you.
One of the things that I love about the show is the through line message of love over labels. And I love how the show reflects all expressions of gender, sexual orientation, as well as racial diversity. Did you find that through the process of filming the show, has that inspired you in your activism, being a very vocal, activist around social issues?
Well, I mean, I was pretty active before the show and after the show. I was really happy this past Pride, I was able to do Black Queer Town Hall with my dear friend Peppermint. And before that, I was, so my activism, it morphs over the years. There was a point where it was taking it to the streets and getting arrested because that was the best way to get my voice heard. There was a point where my activism was, posting things on my Instagram, my Twitter, raising money for different groups. So my activism changes a lot as I change,
Absolutely. I was able to tune in for the Black Queer Town Hall, and it was a really incredible production. The lineup of participants and stars and performers that you had involved, is that something, and I think so needed, especially at that time. But yeah, do you plan to do more? And what does that look like in terms of trying to continue that message in that event?
So we're doing Black Queer Town Hall again this year. I mean, last year it was completely done through crowdsourcing and fundraising. We were able to raise some pretty great money and put it into the hands of Black queer people, which was really, honestly, an honor. It was just such an honor to be able to do. And we posted on the Black Queer Town Hall YouTube page. And this we're hoping to be even bigger and better, And it was probably one of the honors of my life to be able to award the Black Queer Excellence Award to Dr. Angela Davis. That was really an amazing moment.
That's incredible. When can we expect the second installment of the Black Queer Town Hall? Do you have a date yet?
Hopefully it'll be here in June. It'll be here in June. That's our current goal.
Okay, lovely. We'll add some information about that later in the show so people can check that out. Let's talk about one more moment from the show before we move into one of our segments. While we still have you on the show here, Bob, I wanted to chat with you about in one of the episodes. Actually, it's the Twin Falls, Idaho episode. You get to work with three incredible drag babies, one of which is Amelia, and we have a clip that we'll take a look at right now. Where you're backstage after the final performance, I believe. Let's take a look right now with you and Amelia.
Work. How was this for you? Like, honestly, realty,
honestly, it's hard for me just because, I don't know. I don't know if I can, articulate it, honestly.
Honestly, these performances, it means a lot. This is all some of us have. Like when I was fucking working in New York City and waiting tables at the Jekyll and Hyde Club, which is like, imagine Applebee's but fucking worse. It was like working at a shit job that I hated, and I would go home and I would fucking make an outfit, building up to I get to be on stage for like 3 minutes. I'm like, this 3 minutes this is all I have in this moment. It feels like I need this 3 minutes. I fucking need this. So especially when you have your 3 minutes and you look out there and you see people you love and they're cheering for you and they're happy for you and they're gagging over you and people you never fucking met are gagging over you, it's a big fucking deal.
That's literally how I feel for every show.
It's a big fucking deal. So when I'm like, I gotta go do a show, and someone's like, it's a show, like, it's not just a show. This is like, I need this.
Yeah.
I'm like emotional. And I still like the way I'm like, I need this. I fucking need this. So when I say drag saved my life, I'm not fucking around. It saved my life. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this. If I couldn't get on stage in front of people and do this shit, I don't know what the fuck I would do.
Yeah, I get emotional watching that again. I mean, that was really how I, being someone who like craves a creative outlet, especially if you are, for me, I can't say for everyone, but for me, working in the arts and, having a survival job, which I had for years. I mean, I had tons of them. I was working real estate. I worked in restaurants. I did lots of gigs. And I could see a lot of that in Amelia, because Amelia had a job that she didn't love, working at a factory in town. And you have these moments of escapism where you get to really thrive. You find something that you're really good at. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes what you're great at, you can't always make money at it right away. Or for some people, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a beautiful moment. Again, you had me in tears every time. All 8 times I've rewatched that episode. But it's clear that you've inspired so many of the people you've worked with on this show and at large. And because you're such an inspiration, I think, to so many people, Bob, I wanted to talk about someone who's inspired you in your life. So maybe we like to pass the mic over to the guest for a couple of minutes before the final segment here, so you can tell us about someone who's inspired you in your life or your community.
Well, I actually want to take a moment to talk about my dear friend who's one of my drag mentors, Peppermint. I used to go watch Peppermint perform probably 3 times a week in New York City as a baby drag queen. I would go and I would sit in the front row and I would look up at her, take mental notes on her ability to command a room, how to perform, how to be professional, how to treat people. And I would emulate that. And now she's a friend of mine, like a good friend of mine, which I'm so honored to be able to say out loud. She's also truly Black history. I mean, she's the first openly trans person to ever originate a major role in a Broadway musical. She's a philanthropist. She's an actor, poet, singer, songwriter, dancer. She does everything. She's an icon and she's a good friend of mine. And I'm so lucky. I was texting her earlier today. I remember the first time I met Peppermint, and she was on stage, and there was this an award show in New York City called the Glammy Awards, they were called at the time. And she said, if anyone wants to help me with the Glammy Awards, then come backstage after the show and then I can talk to you. And I went up to her and I was like, is there any way I can help you? I'll just do anything. And I told my friend, I said, can you believe I'm going to be assisting Peppermint at the Glam Awards? And I was flying high for a week being like, you all don't know. I'm going to be I was at work waiting tables, but in the back of my head, I was like, well, you all don't know that I'm going to be helping Pep at the Glam Awards this weekend. So,
I love it. Well, we also share the affinity for Peppermint. Love, 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 love her. Well, thank you for that. Listen, Bob, thank you so much for being here. Before we wrap things up, we have one final segment that we like to do on this show. It is called All Tea, No Shade. Now, this is the newest Kiki virtual game that all the kids are playing, where I get to rifle off as many short answer questions to my guests as possible in a short amount of time so we can get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready, Bob?
So let me get this straight. You'll say something and I'll just say a few things about it.
Short-ish answers. We'll start with question number 1. What is your all-time favorite song to lip sync to?
Airmail Special, Ella Fitzgerald.
Fave or least fave drag vernacular? Saying, slogan, word.
My favorite is work. I say work all the time. I use work for everything. Work. And I don't like the word fish. I don't use that word.
Work. Have you ever had a tongue pop competition with Alyssa Edwards? And if so, who won?
I have not. I've only worked with Alyssa maybe 3 or 4 times, and I would not challenge her.
Fair. What's the best or worst part of working with Shangela and Eureka?
The best part is they always keep me laughing. The worst part is I'm always the first one ready. Every time.
I think we saw a bit of that in the show. Okay. What's the best advice you've given or been given in your career so far?
The best advice, I actually thought of this myself, and no one told me this. The best advice is when someone gives you advice, consider the source. Always consider the person giving you the advice before you take it.
100%. Okay, last two quick questions. For all of the kids following in your footsteps and the recent winners of the different drag race franchises, do you have any tips for recent winners, Jada Essence Hall or Priyanka?
Yeah, when someone gives you advice, consider the source. That was my advice when I stepped down, and they didn't air it on TV, but that was what I said, but they never aired it.
I love that, and that is such a good tip. Last but not least, what is next? Any new projects coming up for Bob the Drag Queen?
I have so much stuff. I mean, We're Here season 2. I've been doing a lot of writing as well, and of course, I'm always having fun over my YouTube page.
Beautiful. Listen, I cannot wait for season 2 of We're Here. As you can tell, the biggest fan, and just love everything that you touch and do and come across. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here, Bob, being on our happy hour.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it was such a treat. And you can catch more of Bob, of course, on We're Here, which airs on Crave here in Canada. And check out all of the social links that we'll post on the screen below. Thanks again, Bob.
My pleasure.
We making moves for the light, the cars, it's going off. Curtaloo sets the bar. Freedom